Welcome everybody to our weekly energy talk. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy healer, energy coach, airing from my outdoor tent. Welcome for this weekly speaking freely about some of the deeper spiritual, metaphysical aspects of our daily lives. Many of you are energetically sensitives. You have been feeling the presence of energies without the woo aspect of this all your life, maybe. And maybe you have been having a different perspective on things like most of the other people that you know, or maybe you are just becoming aware that there are so many other things than just what we can perceive with our five senses that can affect us. Probably one of the most classical and widely accepted influences on our mood, on our weather, on our cycles here on this planet Earth is the sun, responsible for weather changes, and the moon, responsible for water cycles. Venus is responsible for the mineral kingdom, and often also associated with precious metals, with the stock market and so forth. There's a lot there. Browse my YouTube channel in the over 500 videos. There are videos about these Earth's influences, that have nothing to do with woo. They are recorded throughout the centuries and millennia. And today is a very, very powerful new moon. This is a very impactful new moon. That's why I'm bringing this up. If you are feeling that things are kind of in some kind of pivotal moment, a moment of decision making, or really sort of struggle where you kind of feel what you need to do already, but you just don't have the courage, or you just don't have the clarity needed to do this step, then this week here is one of those weeks that shows us all of these aspects that need to be healed. It reveals those to us in this exaggerated way. Not all of it, not all of what appears real is true. So it probably is a good idea to tone down the emotional impact of all of this a little bit, to pace ourselves out, to calm down. That's the overall energy tip for this week. If you've watched my energy update and forecast for this week, because things are exaggerated. They are basically hitting us in a way that we can no longer ignore them. And I wanted to address this with you today. These minute or subtle differences in our own awareness between consciousness and conscience. And the energy talk is a two-way street. The reason why I do this live is to communicate with you. And therefore, I would like to ask this question here, right to you, dear audience. What comes up for you? What's the difference for you between conscience and consciousness? What does this even mean? And why is it that we can sometimes get stuck in between the two? What does conscience trigger in us? Where in us is this? Well, it is a form of awareness, conscience, but it comes with certain emotions and beliefs. What does conscience mean to you, trigger in you, make you feel, remind you of. Let's just explore this together here. Conscience can be associated with integrity. Yes, Tina Marie. What kind of integrity? There's all different kinds of integrity, right? And especially here, in transCODES, in conjunction with holistic healing modalities, with energy work and self-healing, integrity is quite an important word, but there's different layers to it. Yeah, so conscience as something that does what? Remind us of that. Yeah, comes in as like, hey, you got to be honest with yourself. Or if you are fully honest with yourself, what does this, what does this mean? What can conscience also do? It can remind us of our authenticity, honesty, and truthfulness with ourselves and others. But what else can conscience do to us? Come on, guys. Conscience and consciousnesses. Conscience triggers guilt. It triggers basically our superego. It triggers our beliefs. It's a process that goes through our cognition and our emotions. Okay, yes, it triggers conditioning, it triggers programming, it triggers all kinds of things that we are maybe aware or not so much aware of, but it is something that we all have, yeah, and part of that is healthy guilt, healthy shame, healthy anger, healthy upsetness, if you will, that indicates certain boundaries to us. But there's also unhealthy expressions of that, because like everything that is ego, it comes in that duality. It comes in these two with these two faces. Okay. Yes, so what is the word consciousness, and what does that trigger in us? Annette, this is really, if you are not native English speaking, there are words in Danish, for example, that also differentiate that. Yes, this intensity, Becky, is there. I just wanted one of you say that. It's very intense. Mm-hmm. The trick is now to breathe through that. The trick is now to remember your center. The trick is now to do exactly what we just practiced in the energy prayer. Breathe through the heart. Breathe through the intensity. Remember your heart. And remember to stay in the consciousness of grace. This is extremely strong here in real time right now. For anyone who is energetically sensitive, you can feel this right now. Yeah, there's in every language a slight distinction, and it took me a while, because English is my third language, to really feel into the differences. But most people don't actually have the awareness, even if it's their native language, to make that distinction. Consciousness is something else. Consciousness does not have a duality, guys. Consciousness does not come with, sort of a healthy or unhealthy or lower or higher expression. Consciousness is. So what is basically the biggest fallacy here, that we as, human beings, all of us kind of recognize the limitation as human being, yeah, that we cannot see all of it, even if we don't have a religious understanding of things. Yeah, we don't have to believe that God works in mysterious ways. Although, I think there's a lot of evidence for that. Yeah, just looking at nature as an ex-scientist, I can tell you that the more I knew about science, the more I became convinced that divine nature is way beyond our human pay grade, way beyond. So for me, the conclusion, as someone who was trying to seek the 3D evidence for life, humbled me and actually made me become someone, like an energy healer, okay? Probably the least form of profession or least, thing that I would ever want to call myself, the least attractive characterization of me when I was in my early 20s, and here I am, through recognizing divine nature. Yeah. Yes. Conscience can be both. Conscience can be tormenting, and it can be a wake-up call. Consciousness is a state. It's a state in which we are able to basically access or tune in to some kind of higher awareness that we recognize can be in us, but also can momentarily or sometimes permanently, or not necessarily in an absolute way, but can be lost sometimes, so we can fluctuate. Consciousness is actually something that doesn't fluctuate. And this is the part here that I want to make you aware of, because when you look around, you read, writings from people like myself who are talking about the Great Awakening, who's sending out the message, okay, that this is a phenomenal time, that this is about us awakening into a new level of consciousness. Yes, consciousness is neutral. Yes, Annette, big distinction here. There is no judgment with consciousness. Yeah, there is also some of these properties that we've discussed here just a few minutes ago, the properties of grace and what grace stands for. Not necessarily in a religious way, but it stands for softness, for forgiveness, for compassion, for love, for healing, for abundance. And consciousness is basically the foundation for not just being able to feel this, but also to work with this, to call on it, and to manifest it into our lives. And many of you, loyal audience, you have been around this sort of awakening journey for decades, many years, and you have had the opportunity to adjust to this over the years. What is happening right now, and why I've called this an auspicious time, a special time, is that this is being or is happening to a broad majority of people on this planet at once. This awakening to consciousness with all these elements of integrity, truthfulness with ourselves and others. So we are going through a time right now that I have lovingly called the confrontation with untruths for one purpose. Do you guys know what that purpose is? The purpose of this confrontation with the lower expressions of conscience, of guilt, of greed, of anger, of specialness, superiority, and fear, especially fear. What is the purpose of this powerful confrontation with untruth, with our error perceptions? Then let's move on to the inner experience of that. Let's move on to feeling and experiencing this from within yourself. Then let our energy talk today be an inner experience. I've picked step 6 of my Sacred Self-Healing program, an online course that comes with interaction and daily meditations as well as webinars and community. And let's allow ourselves to gain more clarity about this. The grace of your inner divinity. That is what consciousness is, and it comes in with the willingness to accept that which is. And with a form of neutrality, like the step says, your ego might be kicking and screaming, but there is a part in you that can see it, that can accept it. This is the consciousness of grace, guys. I guess today we all had to experience it to become a little more clear about this without that many words. I just want to send you home with one more thought. That with this deeper contemplation about consciousness, awakening, and what all this truly means, the seriousness of all of this, you might also now understand what the biggest fallacy is, what the greatest darkness is right now. It has come to my awareness, to my consciousness, only yesterday. In this clarity. And it was through my own loved ones that this was revealed to me. I was asked, Jona, why do you keep talking about the vaccines and all this? Why is this such a big deal for you? Why can't you just let go? And in that moment, I realized it. What this awakening is the awakening from ignorance. Here's what I answered. Because this is the biggest thing that has ever happened to humanity. With the longest and greatest consequences in the history of mankind. Maybe, there were some things, 10, 12,000 years ago, maybe the Great Flood can measure up to that. What is going on right now has never been there before in this way. And that's why I can't stop reminding people of integrity, of truth, of due diligence, of honesty and awareness, and especially neutrality, so that we can see this, so that we can see what the darkness is. The darkness is in our ignorance, in our oblivion, in the comfort zone of our ego. And first it comes to us as a conscience, yeah, and there's a lot of hands on fire right now, so conscience is kicking in, but it's not yet at the level of grace. Yes, Tina Marie? That's correct. So with this I want to leave you today, okay? So that you understand that when we have these kind of talks here, with this level of consciousness, that we are talking about really, really big things, things that are much, much greater than we are. And our part is to call ourselves and, well, higher power, higher consciousness, into reality. We are being asked to call this awareness into reality. We are holding the field, the consciousness for a group like this, millions of people who do not have those levels of consciousness yet. This is what all this is about. All right. Yes. Seriousness. It's always good to level this out with a little bit of humor and to tune into joy. Today's a good day to tune into joy, to light a fire, to continue this clearing, guys. You're going to feel this really extreme sort of intensity in your energy body throughout the day. Don't take it personally. All right, there is a lot that is going through the human collective field right now. Our job is to hold that field, to hold divine consciousness. Call in your higher power as you understand it. Archangel Michael. Yeah. Grace, everybody's going to support you right there. You got to learn how to breathe through these things. I love you guys. See you tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. for the daily energy prayer.